And right, let's take a look at the nutty weekend of Premier League action. This is the Prem Catchup. Right, let's go. Bournemouth 1, Liverpool 0. How? Just how? This is the golden question. How do Liverpool go from scoring 6 in one half against Manchester United to now losing to a team coached by Gary O'Neill? I mean, his Bournemouth predecessor in the job earlier this season came up against Jurgen Klopp and lost by 9 goals. I mean, really, he then walked into a Champions League job, and now Scott Parker has been sacked twice by March. Ugh, that's embarrassing. It's like being dumped by 2 different women on your wedding day. Yeah, I don't think your reputation around town is recovering, big guy. You'll probably have to spend your mid-50s just begging your sister for a kiss. And similarly, Parker is probably just gonna have to swallow his pride and go manage teams like Wimbledon. But lads, this game reminds me of Southampton, because back in September 2019, they were flattened by Leicester City in a 9-0 match. And yet, these tortured and traumatized souls still managed to recover enough to beat Leicester 2-1 just months later. Lads, these Bournemouth players should have been terrified of Liverpool after that horrible 9-0. 4 weeks, they should have been quaking like a bunch of terrified sheep at the thought of facing these ruthless monsters again, and especially this week. Sure, I mean, they could have coped and consoled themselves with the fact that the 9-0 was just a fluke, and that Liverpool have been off form for months. No. Just last week, Liverpool did it again, against one of the form teams in the world. If I was someone like Jack Stevens, then on Friday evening, I'd have been too nervous to even eat a bowl of porridge, because that 9-0 was hideous. Lads, you know it's bad when the entire game has been immortalized into its own Wikipedia page. And considering last week Bournemouth had an adrenaline dump, they left it all out there on the pitch at Arsenal and still lost to sit rock bottom of the league. They should have been on the floor coming into this match. They should have spent the last week licking their wounds like a bunch of depressed mice. But no, you've won, and you've actually won. Well done. Well done for beating Liverpool. Philip Billing did exactly what he did against Arsenal after 10 seconds, stealing in with a late run to tap in a goal. Honestly, how has he been allowed to do that against elite opposition twice in a week? Bournemouth to play Aston Villa next. Sorry, if Billing scores a goal like that, then Unai Emery, you've got no excuse. You should be forced to eat pig poo with a spoon. Just mark Billing. It's not that hard. Liverpool were brutal. Mo Salah smashes the penalty wide. I know that man is brimming with confidence. But James Milner was on the pitch. I know. Milner hasn't scored a single goal in 3 seasons. He probably can't even remember how to celebrate. So wanting that elderly bag of bones to take a penalty over the great Mo Salah, someone who since Milner's last goal has scored over 100. Oh, it sounds nutty, right? Wrong. This was Salah's 4th penalty miss at Liverpool. Milner has never missed one in his life. He has scored 19 penalties for Liverpool. But no, if there is one player you should want to score for your team, it's Jimmy Milner. He has never lost a Premier League match in which he scored. And lads, he's been regularly playing in this division for 21 years. He has scored over 55 times in this division, and he's never lost. So if you give him the Bournemouth penalty, then you're guaranteeing you don't lose the game. Milner just has a thing for the Premier League. I mean, it doesn't count in other competitions. Because, I mean, the spell is broken there. Like when he scored in the Champions League defeat to PSG, or for Newcastle, scoring in the FA Cup in a 5-1 home defeat to Birmingham. But in the Premier League, the man's got Superman blood in his veins. I know it sounds silly to suggest Salah should give his grubby, soon-to-be coach mate a penalty. It's like me suggesting that what on stage Beyonce gives the mic to the middle-aged janitor to sing. But honestly, lads, method in the madness. But yeah, Liverpool, what a costly defeat. The fans for the last week have been drinking so much 7-Up, they probably got renal failure in their bowels. Honestly, their piss probably now just stinks of lemon cake. Leicester 1, Chelsea 3. I am worried for Brendan Rodgers. Lads, Leicester City were supposed to be safe. It was only a few weeks ago. They scored 8 goals in 2 matches. But now, that's 4 defeats in a row. And it's not just some uncharacteristic rot, because this is the 3rd losing sequence they've gone through this season. Let's be honest, the Fox's home form is absolutely embarrassing. They've won 3 league games this season against Nottingham Forest, Leeds and Spurs. At the King Power Stadium, the Leicester team look like a bunch of lost, frightened puppies in the woods. They are in a very real relegation scrap. I mean, they're level up points with Bournemouth. That alone must send a shockwave through the owner's face. Last week, I was 100% confident that Leicester wouldn't sack Rodgers, and I still don't think they should. But the relegation battles terrify the ownership. Does nobody remember when Claudio Ranieri, the reigning Premier League champion, was quickly binned like a leftover Twix? That he was sacked days before a Champions League knockout match. You're coming up against a hideously incompetent Chelsea team, coached by some bearded bloke who'd be better suited to making mouse-flavoured tea in some Hungarian hostel. This guy is such a hipster. He probably spent half time eating a Swedish scone whilst reading 3 chapters of Mice and Men. But in the battle of the former Swansea bosses, Potter came out on top. Ben Chilwell drills in a goal at the near post, and then clearly shows he just doesn't care. The guy spent 11 years of his life at Leicester City. This was the club who plucked him out of obscurity at the academy of Rushton and Diamonds. Yeah, that's a club who literally died 2 years after he left. So Leicester rescued you. It was like going back to 1912 and dragging someone off the Titanic by their ponytail. But yeah, despite Leicester giving him a career, he instantly does a knee slide with hands cupped to his ears. He doesn't care that his old club are literally in the throes of a relegation mess. To me, it's just not a bit ungrateful. It would be a bit like the One Direction lads turning up to Simon Cowell's birthday party and each choosing to do a poo in his cake. Yeah, without this plastic-faced man, you'll all be working at McDonald's for minimum wage. The blonde one would probably be forced to marry his cousin on a farm. But lads, that was the battle of the former Swansea City coaches. And to me, I look at managers from Swansea the same way I look at fat blokes lifting weights in the gym on the 1st of January. With skepticism in my eyes.
Oh, new year, new me!
No. By the middle of March, that gym membership is going to be used as nothing more than a coaster for your Fanta Orange as you tuck into a bucket of family chicken wings before bed. I don't trust ex-Swansea coaches because most of them are hipster flavour of the months who are way overrated. But to me, both Rodgers and Steve Cooper are the real deal when it comes to ex-Swansea managers. They are legit. While Potter is the most overrated of them all. So this would have proven my point if Rodgers had squeezed out a win. But now, he just has to comfortably lose at home, making my argument look more paper thin than a Jake Paul excuse. Tottenham 3-0 Forest 1. Over to Richarlison, I feel bad for you. If you hadn't really been paying attention to the season, you would think that Richarlison is having a brilliant debut campaign. He doesn't feel like a flop, because usually those expensive wet turkeys who fail after £60 million moves, you wouldn't see them doing showboating keepy-uppies on a pitch at Nottingham. Usually they just have the self-confidence of a middle-aged man who still sells popcorn at the cinema. Joking the fact that we all remember Richarlison scoring 2 against Marseille on his Champions League debut, and then there was the incredible World Cup where he won goal of the tournament. There are enough blurry, positive Richarlison moments to piece together to make some sort of jigsaw puzzle in your brain that tricks you into thinking he's had a good 6 months. But if I told you that he still has not scored his first league goal for Tottenham, and we're now in mid-March, your eyes will protrude from your head. 18 games and 0 goals. That is flop behaviour. He's even giving Balotelli interviews where he admits that the season has been awful, but at the same time whining that he didn't start against AC Milan. Yeah, probably because he only scored in 1 game for Tottenham, and that was in September. For a £60 million Brazilian forward, he surprisingly had the goal-scoring impact of a hamster at the zoo. Yeah, I don't really think the chimpanzees are going to be threatened by the arrival of a constipated mouse, but even here, the confidence shows to smash a first-time shot in off the crossbar of a net guarded by a world great like Keylor Navas. You wouldn't have thought this man's form was at the bottom of a toilet bowl, but it then gets ruled out because his arm was offside. You know, the one part of his body that the ball's not allowed to touch? Why does it matter if your arm is offside? He's never going to use his arm to score. I don't get it. It's so irrelevant. It's like being refused entry to a nightclub because you ate a chicken pie the night before. So, lads, this is a guy who embarrassed Forest with those keepy-uppies in September. If this was Sunday League, then returning to play against these same defenders, he'd have left the field in an ambulance. But no, he was allowed to run the show. Harry Kane scored 2 and Son scored 1. Well, fair play with Richarlison, but again, I'm surprised not one Forest player tried to stop you like a Kit Kat. Crystal Palace 0, Man City 1. Oh, Man City, just keep winning. But forget about them for a minute. I fear for Patrick Vieira. Lads, I think it's fun trying to guess the next Man City boss, because just like when Sir Alex Ferguson was leaving, it was always going to be a downgrade. If it was up to the City owners, they'd probably just chain Pep's foot to the dugout whilst burying the key at sea. But I mean, it's probably illegal, and I'm guessing he'd probably freeze like a snowman in the middle of Christmas, just rotting away at the Etihad like a meatloaf in a bin. But right now, I think the next City manager will be either Mikel Arteta or Vincent Kompany. But last season, I thought it was Paddy V. Patrick Vieira returning to Manchester City as coach. But now, I think all of the quality work from last season has just been dragged through a pint of sick. Palace have now not won for 11 games. They haven't had a shot on target in 3. Since November the 6th, they scored 6 goals in 15 games. And one of those was just an unlikely worldly free kick. And then Michael Elise just reacted like someone who'd just taken out the bench. During that run, they've lost home games by 3 goals to 0 and 4 goals to 0. They just look like an uninspiring filth sandwich. Forget Vieira ball. If someone had shown you this blueprint for Palace's season, you'd assume this was still the work of Roy Hodgson. Someone who surely must now be beginning to forget the name of his own kids. He's probably starting to eat breakfast out of a shoe, the poor guy. But yeah, honestly Vieira, I am scared for you, because if you get sacked to Crystal Palace, Oh, it's horrible. Because only 2 of Palace's last 30 managers currently have a job. It's like looking at the cast of Jeremy Kyle. And that would be 74-year-old Neil Warnock at Huddersfield. And weirdly, Peter Taylor from Malden and Tiptree. That last one just sounds like a corner sweet shop. But yeah, it seems that if you lose your job as Palace boss, then it's the equivalent of being sacked in an office for suffocating puppies in the microwave. You ain't getting another job. I don't want to scare you, but from one paddy to another, oh, good luck. My name's not Paddy, but you know. Leeds 2, Brighton 2. Ladies and gentlemen, well, just gentlemen. And even then, I see you watching this video in your pants with a mouthful of spaghetti and fingers that think of dog food. You're no Matthew McConaughey. But what I wanted to tell you is that Patrick Bamford is back. Well, not really, but he did score. He actually scored a goal, and the minute that ball crashed off the crossbar, I instantly felt my foot throb. You know, a bit like a Harry Potter scar burns whenever Voldemort takes a wee. Then yeah, I guess I'm connected to Paddy B. Christ above, I'm talking about all the Paddies today. I sound like an obsessed English politician in 1856. But fair play, Leeds, this was an important-ish point, but you are 19th. You need to be winning games at home. I mean, forget the context. That Brighton have been excellent under Roberto De Zerbi, and that they had a world champion in midfield. If someone had told a Leeds fan 5 years ago that they would be sitting second bottom of the league and would drop points at home to Brighton and Hove Albion, oh, then their face would probably turn grey, as if they'd just eaten a sandwich they found in the back of the couch. Everton 1, Brentford 0. This is the epitome of Sean Dyche ball. A scrappy 1-0 win with Dwight McNeil scoring the winner. Great goal by McNeil, but to me, it's strange he scored it, considering usually he's got the end product of a decapitated Beanie Baby. To be fair, McNeil is one of those average, mush, sausage wingers who just seem to click under a certain coach. If it wasn't for Sean Dyche, this man would just be spending his days delivering pizza to chubby couch potatoes who could no longer see their feet. But with Dyche, he makes it useful. Just get the ball out of your feet and cross the ball. Or in this case, smash it into the far corner of David Rea's net. Lads, McNeil can play international football for Jamaica. Go do it. Do it. I mean, it's admirable if you want to hold out for England, but let's be real. It's been like some 45-year-old barber from Malta. Someone with a nice personality, but with the face of a squashed pancake. It's like him rejecting an actual date because he's waiting to hear back from Shakira after sending her an envelope full of hair. Lads, my point is that McNeil is nearly 24 years of age, and Gareth Southgate would probably sooner iron his tongue than stick him in the England squad. But listen, this is a crucial 3 points for Everton, but McNeil scores literally seconds into the match. Everton fans might have thought,
oh, we scored early, now we're going to build on that and batter Brentford.
No, it was one of those horrible games where you witness a goal in the first minute and then none for the next 89. It was a tease. I bet like turning up to an action movie and you see something cool, like someone's head exploding like a pumpkin before the opening credits, and then for the next hour and a half you're just watching boring dialogue and footage of an old woman pooing in the bath. Man United 0, Southampton 0. It's weird. The week after Liverpool pumped Manchester United by 7 goals, both of those teams then play against teams they've recently smashed 9-0. It was only 2 years ago when this absolutely hideous Southampton mess happened at Old Trafford, when they had a midfielder sent off in the first half. And now you've got Casemiro being chucked off the pitch for a stupid tackle. But listen, Man United should have still won the game. You know why they didn't? The great big Gavin Bazunu. I'm sorry, but I can't highlight just how much of a legend this kid is. 4 years, 11 million are being talked of for being an absolute wonder kid freak, for keeping goal in the big bad Premier League at such a young age. Well, lads, not only has Bazunu just recently turned 21, but he's also #1 for Ireland, ahead of a Champions League winning Caoimhín Kelleher. A move to Southampton last summer was big, not least because he was playing for Portsmouth last season. Right now, he's probably got angry Pompey fishermen wanting to throw eggs at his house when he sleeps. Yeah, don't hang out at any late night pubs near Fratton Park, Gav, or someone will probably break your kneecaps with a pipe. So it was a contentious move for such a young man. I mean, not only that, he was jumping up 2 divisions. The guy went from League 1 straight to the Premier League without a championship stop off. That is a big jump. And the fact he's then been involved in a relegation mess, the kid's confidence might have slipped out his ears. But no, there's no imposter syndrome here. Instead, inside the last month, he's travelled to both Stamford Bridge and Old Trafford and left with clean sheets. He's conceded 1 goal in his last 4 games. Finally, because I said last summer that he would keep the most clean sheets outside the top 6. Yeah, that is soon aged like a pint of milk. But now, he's in the form of his life. But there was one moment in this match which just made me sad. I remember the days when Theo Walcott was an absolute speed king. I remember him running the length of the pitch at Anfield to set up a goal in the Champions League. He was like a young Michael Owen mixed with the DNA of an Ethiopian cheetah. Well, okay then, Theo. do it again. This is the moment he receives the ball inside his own half. Here he is when he controls the ball. Right there, he is now in a foot race with an Argentinian hobbit whose legs are probably no longer than an elephant's knob. The young Walcott will be in like a flash to score the winning goal. But this, it's the most depressing thing I've seen all week. And I saw a decapitated rabbit outside Asda. This is just showing what age does to a man's speed. Because Lisandro Martinez caught him, meaning that he had to shoot from outside the box with a tight angle and missed. Walcott's biggest superpower was his explosive speed. So to see this neutered version, oh, it's like watching a disabled Spider-Man. It's all just a bit sad. Newcastle 2, Wolves 1. Nick Pope is a lucky man. This is a man who could and should have been sent off here again. But this was an important Newcastle win. Alexander Isak, I said he would rip the Premier League apart. And that, he's finally arrived. The man is going to be an absolute monster up front. Ki Chang-Wai equalised in the second half. And lads, the omens were horrible because the score was 1-1 with 15 minutes left. Lads, in the last 20 meetings between these clubs, going back to 2003, 9 of them have been 1-1 draws. This is just the 1-1 game. This would be the 20th, yes, 20th ever 1-1 draw between Newcastle and Wolves. So the players could have just given up and accepted their medicine. But no, Mickey Almiron comes off the bench, scores the winner, and lads, what an important result. Fulham 0, Arsenal 3. I remember back in September 2020, Arsenal rocked up to Craven Cottage and won 3-0. Weirdly, with 3 Willian assists, and everyone was singing,
We've got our Arsenal back!
and then they had their meltdown. But now, oh, you can sing that song now. Because again, you got the Fulham and won 3-0, and yes, you have got your Arsenal back. I don't think you'll win the league, but forget that. 21 wins in 27 Premier League games is phenomenal. This form would win most Premier League titles. This team could literally end up with more points than the Invincibles. We've seen this from Liverpool before. We've seen this from Man City. The incredible winning machine that defies logic. I mean, lads, Liverpool somehow lost the league title on 97 points. What? But the fact that you can now include Arsenal in that list, the list of modern greats who win nearly every match, Mikel Arteta, what a job you have done. Amazing. West Ham 1, Aston Villa 1. David Moyes out, am I right? Anyway, that's it. Let me know in the comment section below. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe as always. I'll talk to you in a while.